Hey, I'm Paul.
And I'm Erica.
And we host a podcast called That Aged Well.
Paul, what do we discuss on That Aged Well?
We discuss movies and TV, mostly from the 80s and 90s, and wonder,
was this always so weirdly sexist?
was this always super racist?
Is my childhood garbage now?
The answer is no. Your childhood is not garbage, but some of the stuff we watched definitely is.
And we don't want you to not like these things anymore. We still like a lot of these things.
If loving Roadhouse makes us wrong, we don't want to be right.
So listen to That Aged Well to find out if the stuff you loved as a kid loved you back.
Dropping Monday wherever you get your podcasts.
Everybody gather round, it's time to get down to the funky sound of Champion Cinema, baby. Chris and Chris, they got the reviews that can't be beat. They're bringing you banter, bringing you the better. Champion Cinema, time for a new podcast. It's the place to be. They talk about movies they like too much. Get ready to groove, because it's Champion, baby.
You're listening to Champion Cinema with Chris and Chris.
We can't do a champion with, unless you can do a good Emmett Walsh impression.
I could maybe just try and do like a southern sort of drawl.
Champion.
Yeah, like, goddamn champion.
Alright, let's stop before we offend somebody.
Yeah, I suppose.
Try a fucking critter champion.
Yeah, totally.
Hello, folks. Welcome to Champion Cinema. I'm Chris with a Kreitz. See.
Yeah. That's Chris.
You've got one. There's a Keith in there. Don Keith Harper.
Oh, yeah. There you go. Yeah, very good. I was kind of looking up and down as I was talking. And I'm Chris with a Don Keith. K for Keith Harper. It's awkward. How do that again?
I'm keeping all this in.
You're like, I'm not fucking editing this.
I can't be bothered. Got 2 shows to edit, fucking.
I'm Chris with a K. That K gimmick.
Yeah, the old K gimmick. Yes, this week we're going to start a series of 2 shows. Sorry for not having a show up last week, so we're going to make up for it this week with 2 shows. We're going to be looking at, not the Critter series, because there was a reboot a couple of years ago, and it's Shudder series now.
Although, I don't really count.
No, the OG4, let's say. Critters 1 to 4. So Critters 1 and 2 this week, Critters 3 and 4 next week. And weirdly, did I suggest this first before we found out Emmett Walsh died?
Yeah, because
weird coincidence.
I think I was probably watching Critters 1 like at the time he died, basically, which is kind of tragic.
Yeah,
it was that night.
I forgot he was in this as well. It's just a weird coincidence. Because we've been meaning to like get to this far. If you can listen back to one of maybe the Year in Review 86 show, and we'll come across Critters again, and we've come across Critters 2 in those shows and go, we should do the Critters series. So it was one of those just like, well, let's do that.
I was going to get around to it.
And a weird coincidence that like one of the main actors died.
Thankfully, like, we didn't record the show and then he passed away, because it would be ultra paranoid that we are literally killing people off.
If you're a new listener, this has happened like at least 5 or 6 times. Do a show on a movie, and then like as I'm editing, like, someone in the movie dies, and I'm like, fuck.
Trying to think who that's happened to, but
I think I know the one I always remember, because it's like so specific, is Robert Kerman from Cannibal Holocaust, like the guy with the tats, the doctor. He died not long after we did either the first or second Cannibal special. And, there was someone else as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember Walsh sad. Like, just one of those great, always reliable character actors. Whenever he turned up to something, he was always good.
Yeah, bless him. Yeah. And as I said, like, I was stunned when he turned up in the Righteous Gemstones TV show, because I mean, okay, he was extremely old in it, like, bless him. Yeah, I think he might have been in a wheelchair from memory as well. But what a powerhouse actor, just going right till the very end, like 80 odd.
88 he was, yeah, just crazy. Yeah, I was just thinking about, obviously there's like, Blade Runner.
Yeah.
And I forgot, like, I always liked him as Lithgow's dad in Harry and the Hendersons. He's like dickhead dad.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's the doctor scene in Fletch, which is always, it's a great scene.
Yeah. He's just one of them guys, though, isn't he, that's been in, like, tons of stuff.
Oh,
basically.
yeah. You look at his filmography and it's just, like, far and wide, like, every genre, every decade, like, past 3 or 4 decades. It's crazy. Like I said, he's just one of those great guys that when he turns up, you're like, it's Emma Walsh.
Yeah.
He's going to be
consistent.
Yeah. It's probably like, because I've just saw it for the first time recently, insanely, like the Coen brothers' first movie, Blood Simple. Like, he's amazing.
Yeah.
He's fantastic in that. He's so sleazy and awful.
It's good to see he's kind of like the bad guy, isn't he? Really?
Pretty much, yeah. He's like a sort of corrupt shithead private eye who's just really sleazy and, very good.
Champion Cinema.
Out in the night, a town in fright, creatures so foul, causing a sight, rolling and tumbling with high-speed delight. Small but vicious, causing mayhem and fear, turning the town into a screaming frontier, rolling and roaring, they're the ones you don't want to see here. Critters, rolling with might, critters, causing the fight, critters, in the dark they ignite, rolling through the night, they're a deadly sight, deadly sight.
So Critters runs for 1 hour and 25 minutes. It was released in 1986, directed by Stephen Herrick. And I was like, the name doesn't sound familiar. Look what we directed, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Yeah, it's pretty random, isn't it?
Yeah. And remember that movie, Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, directed that as well.
Yeah.
Stars Scott Grimes as Brad Brown, Dee Wallace as Helen Brown, Billy Greenbush as Jay Brown, Nadine Van der Velde as April Brown, Don Keith Opper as Charlie, who was also one of the co-writers, Emma McWalsh as Sheriff Harv, Lynn Shay as Sally, Terrence Mann as Ugg/Johnny Steele, and Billy Zane as Steve. For some reason, I don't know why, but I've spelled Terrence Mann's second name, Mann, as just all caps, so it's like, Terrence Mann!
Shouty.
But what is the story of Critters?
Yes, well, it's a very straightforward, we'll get into it, but a Gremlins-esque movie about creatures that come down to Earth and basically they're all mouth, all bite, terrorise a family out in like a country farmhouse, and intergalactic bounty hunters come down to kick some ass.
Certainly do.
So, yeah, a very straightforward plot, really.
It is. It's a classic, very simple 80s fun fantasy/horror movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Gremlins thing. I mean, the writer has said that like it was something that was written or at least conceived before Gremlins. But like we were saying, I'm sure it was. I'm not doubting him, but I'm guessing maybe once Gremlins was a big hit, it was kind of tweaked a little bit. But I wouldn't necessarily say like. It's not like the ape entire scenes from Gremlins. It's not a Gremlins. It's inspired. Let's say inspired by, to be kind. It's not a rip-off.
No, exactly. Yeah, I wouldn't. I think it's just one that was picked up because of the popularity of Little Monsters. Basically, like that people wanted more of that. Would it have gotten its opportunity if Gremlins hadn't been a thing?
Maybe not. Maybe not.
There isn't like a boss critter who's got like a stripe or anything.
Yeah.
It doesn't do any of the like gremlin things.
I mean, it kind of does. Not that, but it kind of does in the fact that there's a big critter.
Yeah. Well, they never like. Yeah, they never really like go there with it though, do they?
No.
And there's stuff with eggs and stuff. I guess a little bit, but yeah, no, I didn't really. It's more the second film, which we'll get to, that feel like they kind of do more of a Gremlins thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think what I really like about simultaneously, like a bit of a criticism as well, that I like that the critters are like intelligent. In this, and it's a shame they didn't like use more of the intelligence. And this, well, certainly as the franchise goes on.
Oh yeah, it's like each film they have some. Well, at least the first two, they kind of have some ability that they just never use again in the next. Like, what,
Yeah.
how come it's only the first one where there's like a giant critter?
Yeah,
Like, that would
yeah.
come in handy in the other movies as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's a bit strange, isn't it? Yeah, but yeah, no, I like that. I like that it sets the movie apart. They're not just like monsters that are there to do wacky things or be dispatched. They talk to one another, and Christ, the film starts with them like nicking a spaceship and escaping from a jail.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really like that it stands apart in that respect.
That's what I was going to say. Like because I honestly haven't seen this for a long time. And the opening surprises, like I forgot how much of a heavy, like it's a lengthy setup and it's all in space. Like I forgot how
Yeah.
heavy the sci-fi element was, even though, I kind of remembered, oh yeah, the space bounty hunters, but I forgot about the big setup.
Yeah, the prison and stuff and the spaceship, and I guess you don't really know what you're getting in for.
No.
But then the film totally changes once you get on Earth, and it's like the film resets itself and becomes another movie.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny that there was just some like little period in the 80s for a few years where like sci-fi horror crossed over, like things like Night of the Demons, that starts with like the whole virus comes from space. Editing, Chris, yeah, I think you meant Night of the Creeps, you big bloody plonker. Then you, of course, Life Force that we talked about last week, and then this. There was a few in the 80s. I wonder what was the catalyst for all those movies.
Yeah, I guess it was like a decade when like Star Trek was really big at cinema and stuff, and
Yeah, I guess it's, yeah.
Star Wars was still kind of going on. With you'd be rounding up to Return of the Jedi at this point, or it's just happened. Sorry, a
Yeah, a couple of years earlier, yeah.
E.T. was a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I guess just the 80s in general was like sci-fi heavy, wasn't it,
Yeah.
really? So everything's going to, like, each genre's going to try and get a bit of that, I suppose.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to know, like, was the Critters thing, was it written as, like, I don't know, something else? There were monsters that just were, mutants or something, and somebody's like, oh, we need to get a sci-fi element to it. Or
Yeah, maybe.
try and cash in on it. Were there always space creatures, basically, or was that more of the space fad?
Yeah, maybe.
That led into it, yeah.
Then one thing, though, that I forgot about, like, I always remember he was quite an intense-looking guy, but Terrence Mann, who plays Johnny Steele, like, fuck me, hair metal Tim Curry.
Yeah, he's got a really interesting look, and he like really stands out in the movie.
Like, he's always the face I remember
Yeah.
when I think of this film, his face.
Yeah, he's like one of two actors who were in everyone, basically, the two of them.
Yeah.
The other one being, of course, the guy that plays Charlie.
Yep.
Yeah.
I forgot Billy Zane was in this, That's another thing. I think like the last time I watched it as well, I was like, Billy Zane?
Yeah, a young Billy Zane.
You know what I like, though? That, like, he pulls up in his flash little car. Yeah, the daughter from the wholesome farm family, and like he's not your typical douche with a nice car. He's quite nervous and respectful, and like she's the one trying to get in his pants. I quite like that flip for a change.
Yeah, it is interesting that he's kind of not. He isn't the bastard at all that
No.
you think he's going to be.
Yeah, that's the classic setup, isn't it? The cool boyfriend with the twatty car.
Yeah.
And he's a massive dick.
Yeah, but that's because there's a bit where I think the dad says, "Oh, are you going to come bowling?" Like he kind of motions like he's like, "Yeah." And
He's like, yeah, let's go bowling.
And she's like, "No, we're not going bowling." He's like, "Oh." Well, it's kind of sad how he sort of exits the film, really.
Yeah. He didn't have a good night, did he, really?
No.
He had a really awkward dinner.
Yeah, really awkward dinner. Didn't quite get to second base.
No.
And then just got dispatched brutally by critters. He's one of only two people that die in this movie, which is
Yeah,
mental.
all the movies have quite low body counts. It's quite surprising. I think Gremlins has a bigger body count than Critters.
Yeah. Because the other one being, of course, and speaking of also random people in the movie, the guy Ethan Phillips from Star Trek Voyager plays Neelix.
Oh, yeah.
So he's the other guy that dies in this movie. The sheriff, not the sheriff, the deputy guy.
Oh, yeah. Oh, is that Neelix, is it?
Yeah.
I don't know idea.
Like a decade or so before he was in Voyager.
Yeah.
But yeah, cool. Always cool to see random Star Trek actors popping up and stuff.
Speaking of the bowling, though, I'm always jealous in movies where like someone's on a bowling team. I wish we were on a bowling team.
Yeah, and like had decent access to a decent bowling lane, because UK bowling's always a bit weird. it's like not the same venue as what's in America.
No, because it's just like what we have is the equivalent of like a multiplex. It's like a multiplex. You know what I mean? And what a multiplex is to a cinema.
Yeah, and like people go for like fucking big kids parties and stuff,
Yeah.
and it just never really feels like an environment you want to hang out in.
No,
Really
no. You go
necessarily.
for a game and then you're kind of sick because it's too fucking noisy. I want to go
Yeah.
somewhere that stinks of cigars
Basically.
and looks like it was built in like 1952. That's the kind of bowling alley I want to go to.
Well, it's interesting the bowling stuff with the dad who's got the Ghostbusters t-shirt on, pretty much.
Yeah.
Like the Ghostbusters logo on
Yeah, it
his
was a
back.
nice little nod. Yeah.
There's a few references in this film. Like there's Chewie the cat.
yeah. There's the E.T. doll. Yeah.
Yeah, E.T. doll, and Brad, Scott Grimes' character, he blows up like a Y-wing at one point.
Oh, yeah.
As well,
Yeah, I
it's
didn't
like-
notice that until I was just browsing through the trivia and I was like, was it? But it's like
Yeah.
spray painted or something. isn't it?
Yeah. So yeah, again, it kind of links into like what I was saying about like a couple of weeks ago, that older films tended to have a bit more crossover, that references to certain things.
Mm-hmm.
But like, sadly, I guess films can't do that anymore because they would have to get lawyered up, and I'm sure back then they probably did speak to one another and get like permission and stuff.
Yeah, well, I don't think you'd have to have permission to just reference something.
No.
I think now it's just fucking no one wants to because everyone's
Yeah.
fucking Marvel's in competition with everyone and Disney and stuff.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
now they just like get product placement, put Pepsi all over the movie.
But yeah, I feel like that has gone away as a thing. Like you don't see it as much now.
No.
Other movies being referenced in movies,
No, not really.
which is sad. Yeah,
Tell you one thing though. Speaking of Brad and his like obsession with like explosives and shit. Like imagine if the critters hadn't have landed, he probably would have been. You seen the amount of fucking gunpowder he's got in his room?
yeah. It's got like shotgun
He
shells.
would have been
and
the
stuff.
next fucking Unabomber or something.
Yeah, what I'm trying. I didn't make note of it, I don't think. But there's a scene where like, doesn't the dad? He like punishes his son by taking away certain things, but he's like, "But you can keep your explosives."
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
maybe you should take his explosives.
Yeah.
Away
He's
from him.
banging on about a fucking slingshot.
Yeah, I think that might be it. Actually, slingshot. I think he takes the slingshot off him. Yeah. He's like, "These things are dangerous, son. Now get back to your shotgun shell and your explosives."
Make me some dynamite.
It's like, really?
Yeah, one thing that I did laugh at, like skipping forward to the second one, where Brad pulls out that picture of him and Charlie from that scene with the slingshot.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, and it's a behind the scenes picture, but in the context of the movie, who took that picture? Some weirdo in the bushes who then sent him the picture. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, a quick Polaroid snap. But I suppose we should probably go through some of the characters, shouldn't we?
yeah.
Who's the main character in Critters? I guess. I mean, it's kind of bit of an ensemble-y.
I would say it was Brad, just because, but that might just be because of, seeing it when I was like
Yeah.
younger, so I identified more with that character.
Because I guess you've got almost like a trio, haven't you? You've got the bounty hunter, you've got the Charlie character, and then you've got the Brad character, yeah, and it's an interesting sort of mix. But I think Scott Grimes does really good in this movie as
He
a
does.
child actor.
Yeah.
I don't think he's like characters decently written as well. They don't fall into that trap of like, he's like, "Oh man, this is an intergalactic spaceship and I know how to fly it," and stuff and all that shit. Where you're like, "Oh god."
I mean, I was totally, because I said it was very cloudy watching this film because I haven't seen it for years, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm sure the explosive is going to come back, but kind of doesn't. He like uses it on one critter and that's it.
Yeah. He's just a kid, basically.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate the scene where he trips. He gets the shotgun, but he trips over and like blows a hole in the ceiling.
Yeah.
and stuff, because he's just a kid.
Yeah.
And they don't do that thing where he's grabbing 3 pieces of technology and cobbling together some sort of interphasic pulsing rifle or something. Where you're like, oh, fuck off.
I love,
He's
how,
like
I love how
12-year-old.
much that trait annoys you.
I know. I fucking hate
He'll be
it.
dead. Shut up.
That's one of the things I would love to do. Just make a film where some kid's like, "I know, guys, follow me," and then he takes lead but just gets blown away. And it's like the most shocking moment in the movie. Everyone's like, "What the fuck?" Like, I would love to do that.
Is that why your favourite scene in Assault on Precinct 13 is the ice cream truck?
Basically.
Yeah, it's like, that's how you do it, John. Don't you regret that? That's how it's done.
Totally. Fucking kids wouldn't last in the face of danger. But yeah, no, I do really like the character, and bless him. It's really funny how he's in the TV show The Oval, which is done by Seth MacFarlane.
Oh, is he? I was wondering because I was looking up like what else he'd done. I didn't see Orville, but I saw he's like the voice of Steve in American Dad, and I was like, oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, a bit of a Seth MacFarlane guy.
Yeah.
He's been in Oppenheimer recently, hasn't he, as well? He's got
Was he?
Yeah, he's got a role in that.
Good for him.
Yeah, definitely. But watching Orville, enjoyed like a couple of series of it, and I didn't do it until the second season or something. And I thought, what's this guy done before? And my mind was just totally blown when I saw credits Critters in his IMDb. I was just like, what the fuck? And when I stuck it on, I was like, yes, like the entire Orville TV show. I must have been thinking like, I kind of know his face. Yeah. But what is it from? One of those mad moments. So yeah, seeing him in this, he's just like mini Scott Grimes. That's ridiculous.
I was going to say, when was the last time you probably watched Critters?
Probably not long ago, to be fair, like 2-3 years ago. I feel like it's very much like a me movie, I guess. Critters, because I saw it very young.
That's what I was going to say. Like, when I think of Critters, I immediately associate it with you when we were like 7 and you were telling us about it in primary school.
Yeah, I was always a bit obsessed with like little monsters and
But
stuff.
weirdly though, I remember it was always Critters 2 he used to promote.
I was just like, you gotta see it.
You gotta see Critters 2, Armstrong. For some reason you were like a 40 showman when you were a kid.
Yeah, I can't remember at what point. I don't know if I saw both of them together or if I saw them separate or saw 2 first and then 1.
Probably. I think that's probably that would be the first time I'd heard of them, and I probably saw them in the video shop, but was like,
Yeah.
That's the reason I watched them when I was younger,
Yeah.
because you kept talking about them all the time.
Obviously, an interesting sort of link for us is it Critters 1, the poster kind of pops up in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie?
Yeah, it's playing in the cinema. It's where it's the film Raphael's went to see.
Yeah. I don't know whether, again, that piqued some interest in or something.
Maybe, yeah.
Subconsciously advertising that film.
It's weird that, though, because I guess films were like up in and out of cinemas then, but like 1986, but there's Critters playing in 1990 in a cinema near.
Yeah, that's a long run.
Is the film set? Is Ninja Turtles 1 set in 1986 then?
I guess it could be.
It's from the comics, around the time the comics came out, isn't it?
They never say, I don't think.
No.
They never claim what year it is. But yeah, like moving on through the cast, like, we kind of touched on them, but the Bounty Hunters are really cool.
The Bounty Hunters are like the best parts of the first 2, really. Well, at least, especially the second one. The second one, I would say, yeah.
Just the look as well, I think. It's a really simple look. Like the leather and the red and stuff. And
I was going to say, the outfits are so good. They're kind of, obviously they look like 80s designs, but like they look lived in, they look worn. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like surprisingly good and functional, really. Yeah.
And there's a lot of good moments where these guys in bars are like, check out these guys. Stupid outfit, and just get choked.
Totally. That guy's got a real cool look to him. What's the character? Johnny Steele or something? Or?
That's the guy he mimics, the pop star Johnny Steele.
Yeah, and it's just funny, like humour that people are like, is that Johnny Steele?
Yeah.
Just come to town with a big fucking bazooka cannon.
It's weird though. I remember that being more of a running joke in the movie, but it's kind of mainly just Brad who goes like, wait a minute, are you Johnny Steele? I remember that being like everyone who runs into them is like, what's Johnny Steele doing here? But no, weird.
That's only mentioned like once.
Weird Mandela effect. Yeah. But yeah, I like the casting of the whole family. Like, of course, Dee Wallace can't be one of the best movie mums ever. I would say.
Yeah, because I always forget she's the mum in E.T. basically. Isn't she,
E.T., Cujo,
Yeah, no, I think the one probably the greatest strength of this movie over all the other movies in the series is the cast and also the character setups as well, because I feel like it doesn't spend too long, but it just spends just the right amount of time setting up the characters so you give a shit about them. And it's really, really good. Yeah, like the mum, the dad, even like Charlie, to be honest. Like he has a decent setup to the point that you're rooting for them.
Watching this thing, I was like, oh yeah, that Nadine van der Velde, the sister, April. Remember when I was a kid, I was like, I had a little crush on her when I was like 8. And then I was thinking like, oh yeah, I also had a crush on the chick from Munchies. It's the same actress.
I
looked at him, I was like, that makes sense. I had a weird thing though. The guy who plays the dad, Billy Bush, I was like, he's so familiar. Like, what else do I know him from?
Mm-hmm.
And the main thing I would know him from is Jason Goes to Hell. But, like, I haven't seen that many times because I don't like it at all. So it's for those, I couldn't see anything else because he's just got such a familiar face.
Yeah, he does, doesn't he? I wonder if they just picked him for that reason. He's got one of those salt of the earth kind of.
He's got like he does have a bit of a like beardless Chris Christopherson about him.
Yeah.
Maybe that's it. Maybe I just think he looks like Chris Christopherson.
I love that at one point. I don't know if he's got his top off or he's just got a short sleeve shirt, but he's totally got like a farmer's tan at one point in the movie.
Yeah.
That was like, I don't know, it just seems like a kind of guy, he probably just legitimately works out and stuff on the farm.
He's always out and working on his car and shit, probably. Yeah.
But obviously, yeah, I suppose we should talk about the main characters of the movie, really. The Krites.
The Krites, yeah. It's another thing I forgot as well, that like, you know, they're actually called Krites.
Yeah, rather than
actually have a name.
critters. Yeah. That's a bit of a coincidence that they're called Krites. But yeah, I think they're handled really well. I think the thing the movie does good is it's like a layered reveal of the creatures. You know, you don't. It's very similar to Gremlins in that respect. You see like, you know, little flash of them. You see the eyes in the dark.
Yeah.
And then you finally see one like kind of full body, but it's kind of dark and obscured still. It's a nice approach to it rather than just being like, blah. You know, here's the full prop sort of thing.
Yeah, it's a nice tension build moment when the dad goes down in the basement because he hears the noise, and I think the electric goes off, doesn't it?
Yeah, the chew through the electrics, basically. Yeah,
and like you just can kind of see something moving on the shelf. Did you think that? I was just going to give props, like in me highlights, to the score by David Newman. Did you think there was very John Williams, the music in that part?
Yeah. Yeah, it has an interesting score.
It does, yeah.
In fact, I would say the music overall, there's loads of times where it's like kind of diegetic, where it's like music that's just playing on the radio in the background.
Yeah.
They do that quite a few times, and I find it interesting when like movies do that. You get it in soaps more.
Yeah.
But and shit like that, but you don't, because I think you see Johnny Steele's music video at the start of the movie, and then it's playing on the radio again at one point, and I think like maybe the Brad characters listen to music in his bedroom, and it kind of merges into the movie. It's interesting. Yeah, interesting sound design for that.
I mean, do you want to move on to highlights?
Yeah, because it's one of them. There's quite a few little bits, I suppose. Yeah.
My first one, just because like, it really reminded us just the way it was like shot and edited, and everyone's like stunned silence when they crash the police car through the church when it's like in the middle of a service. Yeah, just reminded us of Cannonball Run. It just felt like something that would have been in Cannonball Run.
Yeah. The like aliens as well that just don't understand how to drive.
Yeah,
at first, so they're driving backwards everywhere. I just kind of laughed at.
Yeah, and of course, you know, there's a couple of moments with the critters that really made us. I think, you know, the bit, I think probably one of the bits you sold me on when you were a kid, the bit where she just blows one away and the other one just shouts fuck and leaves.
Yeah, the one he's the one that's like urging caution. He's the one that gets blown away. He's like, they've got weapons, and the other one's like, so, and then blam, it just explodes. He's like, fuck. See, that's what I mean about, I feel like one of the missed opportunities this movie is that they could have done more of that.
Yeah.
Like a bit more of the comedy and a bit more of the intelligence of the critters and stuff. Because one of my favourite scenes, well, probably my favourite scene, is the bit at the end when the critters just stop to blow up the house. I fucking loved that as a kid. You know, they're just escaping in the spaceship. They've been bested. You know, they're running with like limping away from the scene, sort of thing. But they're still like twatty enough to stop and just blow away the house. And then one of them laughs. Like, really good.
I love that moment as well when one of the critters is hiding in the toilet, and then he just pulls the lid up, and you can just see it trying to squeeze down the U-bend. Its little legs kicking. Yeah,
just quite a few of those scenes. If they'd like expanded on that and done more of that, I think it would have been more of a success. This movie, maybe.
Yeah, it's weird looking up the box office. This cost like $3 million, made like 13. They said the sequel cost 4 and made just under 4. It like really underperformed. So it's kind of weird that you'd think like, you know, people would, because, you know, 30 million's not the turn your nose about it in 1986.
Small amount of money, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'd think more people would have went than like, I don't know, maybe in that 2 years something else had come along. I don't know.
Yeah, they had missed their opportunity basically. Yeah. By that point, I think you're getting into like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles time. Once you start getting to like 89 and 90 and stuff, the craze had shifted, and everyone wanted to be a ninja and stuff, and no one was interested in sci-fi and shit.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe they should have just fast-tracked it for like 1987 or something.
Just rush it out. Yeah.
Other highlights? Yeah.
Oh, I was just going to say, like, you're right. You nailed about the big critter. I think that's interesting that they never really kind of harnessed that either or come back to it or anything. No. But I think it is kind of cool. It ups the ante that I always interpreted the movie as they get bigger as they eat, basically, and that's kind of they get bigger and they reproduce, and that's the danger and the risk in the critters. Yeah. And they never really use it, and it's interesting that you never really get a good look at the big critter.
Not really.
I wonder if it was like, because there was a full suit costume. I've seen it in like stills, like making stills. I wonder if it just kind of looked shit, and they were worried that it wasn't going to look good.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about like the size and shape of a normal sized critter, you expand that to like a size of a guy. I can't imagine it would look convincing waddling around.
No,
do you know what I mean?
Probably not. Yeah, it's interesting that the design of them was based on the Tasmanian Devil, basically.
Yeah, you can see that.
The guy just like did an outline of Taz and then just put a massive mouth on. It's like, yeah, totally makes sense.
Yeah, it's like Taz crossed with a porcupine,
basically. Yeah. Which again, just one element I want to touch on, like the extra added element of danger to the critters that they can incapacitate you through those darts. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's kind of cool. Gives them an edge because why wouldn't you just boot them away or run away from them? But I don't know, it just gives them that extra lethality that they can just immediately put you to sleep.
It kind of seems mental though, because like you think about it, the point of those would be like incapacitate your prey, then eat them. But they just kind of fire at them when they're feeling threatened, and then if they want to eat you, they just dive at your face.
Yeah.
So they're not that intelligent.
No, true. There's a certain level of intelligence.
They're a bit too feral.
Champion Cinema.
So what about artwork and stuff? It's mainly the artwork is for the first movie, right?
Yeah. So I think we'll just cover it off here because there isn't really that much. Unfortunately. So yeah, there's an artist called Chris Garofalo who's done a decent little print with it's kind of like a dead skeleton.
Dead.
I'm trying to think of the word. Fucking ox. That's it. An ox. Yeah, in the credits. That's pretty nice.
Yeah, that is nice.
Like again, using the red and black to good effect. Nathan Cheshire's done a decent one as well. I really like the silvers and the blacks going on in that. Like where it's just a big group shot of all the critters.
Yeah, it's just all monochrome except the bloody teeth and the red eyes. That's nice, yeah. It's got the one, I guess that's more like Critters 2. It's got the one with the bald heads.
Yeah.
my favourite bit in the second one.
The noise that it makes.
Yeah.
And the last one that we found, which I think is like more just a straight up traditional movie poster by Reese Cooper. I've seen Stacey was showing us pictures of it in hand. Somebody's actually got the artwork and it looks really nice.
Yeah, that is nice.
Like, really good. I think not so much in this image, but the critters really stand out in person. Like they've really done like really nice contrast between the blacks and the silvers and stuff.
To be honest, I've always loved the. I think it was because if you look at the US one sheet, the original one sheet, I was like, "What the fuck? That's the Critters poster. It's like all orange with them on the outside the farmhouse." Because to me, the Critters poster was always the video box over here, just the critters standing in the field.
Yeah, just really simple.
Yeah, and that one is just like a pure video shop memory for me. The Critters box, it always stands out. Maybe the poster was in Revolver's window for 5 years.
Yeah, possibly. Whole sun stand and shit.
Right next to the Gate poster and the Cobra poster that never moved.
But it's a weird thing though, isn't it, that with Critters that we talked about very briefly before we started recording that like the small cultural impact that this movie's kind of left.
Yeah, like it has it, like anything from like any franchise, it has its fans, but like it always seems like more of a big deal to us, I think, just because we saw it when we were really young. Yeah. And, when you're at that age where you don't really consider like how big something is. If you liked it when you were a kid, then it's a big film, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But even though it had like a like that Shudder series or movie. I don't know if it's series or movie or both. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just like it's like we're saying, like Child's Play has always been like always still has its fans, even though that's kind of in the same ilk of like lower tier franchise. But that's been like constant since then with sequels and a TV show and stuff. But shame about Critters.
You know, I always take like action figures as a bit of a barometer on how things are like popular and cult pop and stuff. But there, you know, no real major studios ever done a Critter figure or anything.
No.
You know, like there isn't much collectibles out there when you search Critters. I got like a pretty cool. I'll have to get a newer photo, but I got a cool pin badge set that I think we bought when I was at a convention.
Oh yeah, it's more the Romero one in Manchester.
Yeah. So you know, there's merch that you can make out of the Critters films. Certainly, you know, like the bounty hunters and stuff. And
I was going to say, like a NECA double set of bounty hunters would be good. You could have one with like interchangeable heads if they did like Critters 2 or something. That would be cool.
But there isn't, sadly, and there's no video games. I think there was a briefly planned NES game that I couldn't find much info
for the time period, and like it was a little success. You'd think they'd bang out a fucking tie-in video game for the NES or something, like Commodore 64.
Just dead simple, you know, like you're the bounty hunter and you're blowing away critters.
Yeah,
you know, and they're rolling at you, and there's ones that come at you from different angles.
Makes itself pretty much.
Yeah, just a simple shoot 'em up. They could have just gotten any shoot 'em up and slapped a Critters sort of paint scheme over it, and it would have worked.
Exactly.
But no, never did. So funny film for that. I guess it was pretty much just Gremlins, though, wasn't it? I suppose I think that's the thing. Like Gremlins give way to, you know, some monster movies being popular. Yeah. Like little monsters like Ghoulies and stuff.
Yeah, Munchies. Let's not forget the classic that is Munchies. But
at the same time, there's not much space in that area. It's because Gremlins just took it all up. Yeah. Basically. Yeah. So, I guess if anyone was ever going to buy merchandise, it would be a Gremlins t-shirt or a Gremlins video game. Or,
as for Blu-ray, Shout Factory put out a 1-to-4 set on Blu-ray. I'm not sure when, probably a couple of years ago. So it's basically the DVD set we've got, except it has extras.
Yeah.
So for the first Critters, you have 2 audio commentaries, a 70-minute making of, a featurette, and an alternate ending. I forgot to look up what the alternate ending is. Did you?
Yeah, I'm not sure, actually. No. I don't think I've ever seen anything about the alternate ending.
So I guess let's move on to Critters Part 2, the main call.
Champion Cinema.
So they weren't too long in getting a sequel out. Moving forward to 1988, with a runtime of 1 hour 26 minutes. Directed by Mick Garris, starring the headline this time, Scott Grimes, reprising his role as Brad, Leanne Curtis as Megan, Terrence Mann as now credited as Ugg rather than Johnny Steele.
Yeah.
Don Keith Opper comes back to play Charlie. Roxanne Kernahan as Lee, the other bounty hunter. Tom Hodges as Wesley. Douglas Rowe as Quigley. Herta Ware as Unnecessary Nana. Sam Anderson as Unnecessary Love Interest's dad. Yeah. Pretty much. So, what's the film about?
Well, 2 years after Part 1, Brad returns to his hometown to visit his grandmama when the Crite eggs teased at the end of the original hatch, don't know why they waited 2 years, and wreak havoc, causing bounty hunters Ugg, Lee and Charlie to return to Earth and go hunting for critters once again.
It's interesting. I don't know why, but I also just randomly did a synopsis. I sometimes do for like the second ones, and you're pretty much like beat for beat exactly my synopsis.
Read yours.
2 years have passed since the last movie. The Browns have left the old homestead for the city when 2 looters disturb a clutch of dormant critter eggs. So Charlie and the bounty hunters must return from space to finish the job off.
There you go.
Very similar.
That's a very simple plot.
Yeah, well, that's it, isn't it? It's sequel stuff, really. Because I think it ups the ante a little bit, this movie, but it also kind of like redoes a lot of the things. You know, I think the bounty hunter Lee, the fact that immediately he doesn't have a face again, and it's like, oh right, so we're doing that thing again.
Yeah, it's very much like let's do the same movie, slightly different, but bigger. They try to make it bigger, better. I mean, I think like tonally, this feels more like you were saying, feels more like a Gremlins movie. Like it's more comedic and silly than the first one. Like the first one, you think about compared to like it's at least 2 or 3. It's quite dark, and especially since it's all set at night. It's quite eerie.
Yeah.
Shit flying out of the dark and stuff.
Yeah, because I think I suppose the big differentiating thing about this movie is a lot of it takes place in the day.
Yeah. Yeah, that's another big change as well. Like I said, tonally more silly and light.
Yeah. And like I guess the technology's moved along a little bit, so you see more of the critters.
Yeah, true.
You know, like whether they just had more money and so they splashed the cash on the props and stuff, but you immediately just see more of the critters and stuff once they get past the initial reveal.
Like I said, I was saying it the other day, whenever I used to think of Critters or it would come up, it's always the second one that I would think of because it's just got so many moments that just stick in your head, I guess. A lot of memorable moments. I mean, so does the first one now. Like, it refreshed me memory watching the first one. But this one, like, all the bounty hunter stuff and like you said, the bit you always liked, the Easter Bunny bit where, like, they all eat his balls.
And it's such a funny setup. He's just like, God damn, the zip won't zip up. It's like, oh, I think I know what's happening here. Before you've ever seen the movie.
But I mean, the watching them back to back, and like I said, I loved the family in the first one. It's just kind of a shame that, like no one returns except Brad and Charlie.
Yeah.
And I think like Lynn Shea's character's in it again. It's like, but she works at the newspaper now instead of the sheriff's office.
Yeah.
And like Emmett Walsh has been recast with Barry Corbin, who I like as an actor, but it's just weird. Like at first I was like, is that supposed to be Emmett Walsh's character? I had to check on IMDb.
Yeah, it's not immediately clear, is it?
No. And I hate, like that kind of recasting in sequels is always like super jarring.
Yeah, like maybe it's just write the character out then.
Yeah.
Especially because, I mean, we'll talk about it now. Because we're on the subject before I forget, like it's like the people that made this movie kind of made the sequel based on vague memories of the first movie, basically. Because you know, like the sheriff they keep referring to him like he's some sort of hero that saved the day in the first film.
Yeah,
and you're like, he didn't. He was useless. He turned up and he didn't. He got chucked through a wall. And then he like failed to save the young girl at the end, and that's when like Charlie and Brad had to get shit done. Yeah, and it's like weird, like just weird that they kept going. Oh, you know, we need your help. Like, why? Why do you need his help? What did he do in the first one?
The Brad character's become like a boy who cried wolf. Like no one believes any of this shit happened. Yeah, which is mental because shit was happening like in the town in front of other people. Yeah, like, come on. Yeah. It's pretty irrefutable. Something bad happened. You got to suspend your disbelief there a little bit, I suppose.
I don't want to stray too much into criticisms because we'll save it a bit long, but I think this movie tries to recapture that, like, setting up the characters, going around the town, setting up a few characters so that you kind of care for them when the you know, the risk comes into the movie. But it's just not done as well. So you don't really... Because immediately when they introduced the Nana character, and you're just like, what the fuck? Like... I don't care about this character at all. Yeah. She doesn't do anything in the movie. And then they're like setting up the love interest and they're setting up the dad. And it just something doesn't work as it did in the first movie. Yeah,
it just doesn't. It's not as tight, really. It's not as tight and well written, I guess. And also, the main joke with the Nana is that she hates meat eaters and vegetarians. Hence, you know, the critters eat people and meat.
And they never like quite hit the punchline.
No, I was waiting for it, but not really. No.
Yeah, it's just strange. And then you've got the two, Quigley and Wesley, the two like very much like Power Rangers, sort of Bulk and Skull characters or something. Yeah. They kind of never amount to any. The film starts and kind of focuses on them. Yeah. And then they just randomly split up, and you know, one dies and one never really does anything. No. So it's a strange movie for that. I think, like you said, that the thing that sticks out of this movie is it's just those funny moments that kind of hold the movie together, basically. Yeah. Like they just wrote some cool moments and then went, let's make a film.
Yeah, because the bounty hunter bits are a lot of fun. Especially, you know, like the bit everyone remembers, especially if you're a young boy when you first saw this, where Lee just stares at a Playboy centerfold and just turns into the Playboy centerfold. Just boobs and everything just pop out of the costume, and then she's got a staple in her stomach and stuff. It's pretty funny.
It's funny, but weirdly, like, jarringly off-putting as well at the same time. Don't know what it is about it. They do it in the least sexy way they could.
They kind of do, yeah.
I think
as a kid, you're just like, boobs! But now
Yeah.
you look at it and you're like, it's a bit odd.
Yeah, I think it's the inflating boobs. There's something about it that...
It's a little unsettling.
Because they're like made of latex or something. They're like fake boobs that are being inflated by air to make the costume burst. But just for that brief moment, I think because it's like the movie's been cleaned up and it's, you know, digitally restored and stuff, you can see that it's not real skin and stuff.
Oh,
Something about it just looks gross.
Yeah.
You're like, ugh.
I was sad though to look up that actress Roxanne Kernahan. She died in '93 in a car accident. She's only 32. I was like,
Yeah,
Jesus,
sad. Yeah, never really had much of a life, bless her.
Yeah.
Very sad.
And of course, later on, there's like the New Line in joke where he almost turns into a standee of Freddy because he's staring at it. He almost turns into Freddy because he's looking at a standee for one of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies.
It would have been cool.
I'm surprised they didn't do it, the Freddy thing. Yeah.
A bit of a cameo.
Yeah, they could have just had Robert Englund, like, just for like 5 minutes. And
Yeah.
then he's like, no, and then he holds the Playboy up against him or something. I don't know, it would have been funny. Maybe they planned it at some point. Yeah.
Well, the thing that got a laugh out of me as well is when he turns into the dweeb character, Lee. But he's still got the skimpy outfit on.
Yeah.
That did get a laugh out of us.
Yeah, get out Eddie D's and did notice something though. Speaking of like Freddy and slasher movies and stuff, I noticed like the stunt coordinator at the end, Dan Bradley.
Oh yeah,
This might be interesting to some people, because the Friday the 13th fans will know, I guess. Like he was the guy that was the original Jason in Part 6 before he got fired. You know, there was two Jasons in that movie.
Yeah.
That's he's the stunt coordinator for all these movies, I think.
that's random. Yeah. Cool.
I think when the guy was putting together the Crystal Lake Memories book, he rang him to like see if he wanted to talk about it, and he just hung up on him.
Oh really?
It must be a little sore still about
Bit
getting fired as
sore,
playing
yeah.
Jason. Yeah.
Oh, bless him.
But yeah, overall, I think like Critters 2's okay. It's not as
Yeah.
good as the first one, but it's not, put it this way, it's not 3.
Yeah, we'll get to that stuff. Yeah, 'cause, you know, like I said, the technology's moved on a bit. I think they do a lot of cool stuff, like the big critter ball's interesting and stuff.
Yeah,
It's done its own thing and it's daft, but it works. I love the bit when it like rolls over the guy that's running away and he's
Yeah, and
immediately turned into a skeleton.
Just a bloody red skeleton. Yeah, it's funny. Yeah,
And he's gibbering a little bit as well.
yeah,
It's like
yeah. That
such a
feels like something out of like Army of Darkness or something, doesn't it?
Yeah. Again, if they had upped the ante a bit more and done more of that comedy.
Yeah, to be honest, like I would have kind of welcomed like just if it went really silly, like
Yeah.
Army of Darkness, and like did more stuff like that, like the
Yeah,
skeleton gag.
yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean. That'd be welcome.
There isn't really much to say about this
No,
movie, is
not
there?
really. I mean,
That's
the
a
next
tough
week's show's going to be like 10 minutes long.
thing. We're just going to be like, fuck it. It's just going to be me on a rant, basically.
Yeah, probably. I'll let you go. Fill up time.
Well, what about highlights, I suppose? I know we've kind of covered a few bits, but...
I do like the bit where, and weirdly, you know, like this, each film tries to do a scene like in Gremlins when they're in the pub, like just showing the critters being goofy and having a good time. I think this is the only one that works and is funny. When they're in the Hungry Heifer restaurant, they're just stuffing their face with burgers and stuff.
Yeah, going mental.
Yeah, and weirdly, that jingle, the Hungry Heifer jingle, was like instantly familiar from when I was saw it when I was a kid. So I was like, that just shows you the power of a good jingle.
Yeah, I kind of had that same reaction as well, actually. Yeah, I
Yeah.
thought, God, yeah, there's something about that song.
Yeah, it was instantly like I was like, what, did I hear this on something else recently? But no, I just think it's just a really good jingle.
Yeah, some burger chain should have took it up, you say?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And of course, like I said, that's the one of the funniest bit in the film where he gets the gremlin gets like the gremlin. I keep saying gremlin. Critters gets the top of his hair shot off with a laser gun, and it's just like, "Rah!" And then he looks in the mirror and says, "Bitchin'."
Yeah, bitchin'. And he keeps coming back throughout the movie. Yeah, I think my favourite bit that always sticks in my head is, I've already said it, the sheriff with getting the critters to the nuts, basically.
Yeah.
I don't know why I always, like, that properly cracked me up as a kid.
It's the speed to just fly into his zip, basically. Like, whoop, whoop.
Like, what a way to go, bless him. And yeah, and the Lee becoming the nerd and stuff. That's like a funny moment in the movie.
Yeah, that is funny. Yeah.
Those little criticisms, I've got quite a few criticisms, really, to whiz over. Like, I've already touched on them, but go on.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's what I said before. Really, my only main big criticism is just it's a sequel that has to do just sequel stuff. Let's just do more of the same but bigger and better. But it's just
Yeah.
not as tight or as fun
No.
as the original. Even though, like I said, it's not a pacing thing. It's just because they're both the exact same length. It's just like I know, it just meanders a bit more than the original. Like, the first one's so fast paced and you're never bored.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah. I think it's definitely got a massive pacing problem. The film pretty much grinds to a halt when the Lee character dies. Strangely, like once she's dead, she, the kind of don't really know what to do with the movie at that point, and like Ugg kind of is depressed that his friend's partner's died.
Yeah.
They kind of hold up and they're coming up with a plan, and you just feel like, what? Where's film gonna go now? Like, weird. All the tertiary characters that are shoehorned into the movie it just doesn't work at all. It's like the Nana. I don't like the actress that plays the love interest. I don't think there was anything there.
What, chemistry wise?
Yeah,
between him and Brad?
that actress, not being unkind about it, I don't feel she added anything to the movie. I just didn't really like that character or the style of acting.
It's a bit mean. It's a bit mean.
Yeah, gonna be brutal on her.
You know.
And yeah, there's just a lot of that. Basically, every new character that they introduced in the movie just was fucking pointless and added nothing to it. Yeah. So yeah, weird one. I'm kind of the same. Like, a lot of the stuff that I remember as a kid from the Critters movies is from Critters 2. But I think as a movie with characters and stuff, it falls flat on its face, basically.
Yeah, looking at it when you're older through a more critical eye, it's not the film you remember.
Yeah, I can see why it basically killed the franchise off. I know the second and the third one were the nails in the coffin, but I think the second one really, that's why we ended up with 3 and 4.
Yeah,
because the second one was such a turkey, basically.
I will say though, bless Mick Garris. I do like Mick Garris. Like, he's kind of been. His films are very up and down. He did this. He did the Psycho 4, the prequel movie, which is really good. Mm-hmm. He's done a bunch of Stephen King adaptations. He did the original version of The Stand, stuff like that. And he's a lot in the 70s and early 80s. He was like a big behind the scenes guy, made behind the scenes making ofs and stuff.
Yeah,
but yeah, just I love his podcast, which is sadly no longer Postmortems. It's one of the best horror podcasts out there, but he just stopped doing it not long ago.
Yeah, is it?
Yeah, and interviewed everyone in there. It's such a good show.
No. Oh, bless him.
But as for the Blu-ray, and once again in that set, you've got 2 audio commentaries for this again, an hour-long making of, behind-the-scenes featurette, and scenes from the TV edit of the movie. So little scenes that were included in the TV version.
I've heard that. Yeah, there's extended scenes, slightly alternate scenes.
Yeah, you get that a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's Critters 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Next week, Critters 3 and 4. Or in my notes, next week, Critters 2 and 4. We're just going to talk about 2 again.
we're gonna glance over and pretend 3 didn't happen.
Yeah, that's a good idea. So any final thoughts on Critters 1 and 2 before we go?
Yeah, only that, they are fun and easy movies to some degree. I think if you're interested in that kind of franchise, light horror, gremlins and monsters, nobody's ever truly in true danger necessarily. I don't know, it's quite an easy sort of watch, the first 2.
I mean, because of what we were saying earlier about how it doesn't have that much of a cultural imprint anymore, at least it seems like it to us anyway. Mm-hmm. I wonder if it's one of those movies that a lot of younger people now got into Stranger Things, been going back and watching movies from the 80s. I wonder if they've kind of missed this.
Yeah, maybe.
So if you are one of those people, go back and give the first Critters a watch. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely. I think so. I think it's a shame. It deserves more. Like I said, action figures and things like that. It deserves more. It should be up there. And yeah, it isn't a straight rip-off of Gremlins. I appreciate that they didn't just do that thing, basically. They did try and do their own thing.
It's obviously probably, a little bit inspired by it, but it's not a fucking, it's not just aping Gremlins for a quick buck.
Yeah, no.
So yeah, next week, Critters 3 and Critters 4. So until then, you can catch us on social media, on the Instagram at Champion Cinema Pod. Go give us reviews on iTunes and Apple and whatever.
Amazon stuff.
Go give us a review on Woolworth's website.
And GeoCities. What was that?
So yeah, until next week, folks, I will see you down the pit.
Yeah, see you in the heap.
Champion Cinema.